Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Warm welcome to all of you on behalf of CXO Media to this Marketing Leaders Connect series. Today is the 8th edition, and what we do is every fortnight we bring the marketing leaders from various technology companies across the industry on this common platform, and there we discuss the strategic changes and the tactical changes, and how increasingly marketing is leveraging technology and to sort of enhance the business for the company. So these are the mission, and as part of this today's session, and it's my pleasure to first introduce all the panelists who are here today. We have with us today Shivani Sharma. She is the SMB Business Head of Software One. Welcome, Shivani.
Thank you, Rajnish. Thanks.
We have with us Varun Saxena, Head of Marketing of Atos Software. Welcome, Varun.
Pleasure to be here, Rajnish.
A-
Thank you.
And we have with us Kunal Aman, Regional Marketing Director from SAS. Welcome, Kunal.
Thank you, Rajneesh. Thank you for having me.
And we have with us Mohantesh G. He's the co-founder and director of CXO Media. Welcome, Mohantesh.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So, as I mentioned in the brief, what we will do is what we will start with, and I'll come to each panelist with this. That one, AI is increasingly, we know, has sort of redefining the marketing paradigm. So, when AI we are saying is redefining the marketing paradigm, what are the impact on in terms of the roles and responsibilities a head marketeer has today in this AI redefined marketing paradigm, and how are the marketing strategies changing as a shift of adoption of more AI? I'll start with you, Shivani.
Sure. Thanks, Rajnish. So, what I strongly feel is that today, for every marketer, it's everything about speed and clarity and impact, right? So earlier, as we would all remember, we used to pull out a lot of data while running the campaigns, and then a lot of gut instinct went into creating the strategies and everything around that, and we used to hope it would work. So a lot of hidden trial methodology used to be functional there, right? But now with AI, we are getting instant insights about what our audience cares for, or how do they behave, and what kind of content converts, right? So a lot of heavy lifting is already being done by AI today, but what is that one piece which actually evolves every marketer, especially as a chief marketing officer, anyone would uh, care for, is the human storytelling. That is the human element, the emotions part of it. That is something that is something that they have to very, very seriously look into. And because marketing is not just about broadcasting a message, but actually now creating a very deep, hyper personalized and persuasive journeys, right? So now a CMO has to be a half artist and a half scientist, right? So you have to blend empathy with analytics, and you have to blend creativity with conversion. So that's about it.
Thanks. In fact, you have raised an very valid and pertinent point. One that while earlier the marketing thing was more gut and feel based, now we have more, especially with AI, more measurable parameters on which you can do analysis and stuff. On the other hand, you are still reminding that the human quotient. That still remains strong. So ideal situation is you have to have both a scientific bent of mind and artistic bent of mind, and it should be marketing should be ideally an amalgamation of both. Great.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Shivani, for that. Varun, I'll come to you next with the same question. The changing roles and responsibilities of a marketer in this AI driven era.
Um, sure. So I think I'll probably go back to our MBA classes where we were taught marketing is both an art and a science. So Shivani summed up the art bit of it, and how we should be kind of measuring it and balancing it with the science of it. The only thing that I'd probably would want to highlight is when we talk about AI. If you go through the full form, it's artificial intelligence. So the artificial bit is what the science is. The intelligence is still human driven. So the effectiveness of AI, it depends on how effective the human behind the prompt is and how effective the human is behind understanding what the output is. So I think that's one thing that needs to be kept in mind while we're talking about how we leverage AI, because AI is such a buzzword right now. So you're using AI for campaigns, you're using AI for data analysis, you're using AI for revenue analysis, but eventually it still boils down to the fact that who's the human behind that AI and who's the human who's consuming that AI driven content. Whether it could go either ways, but we really, I think, as a CMO, it's their responsibility to not just encourage teams to use AI, but to evangelize it on how do they best use it and interpret it. So the interpretation bit and the driving bit is still human. So that's what I'd like to end with.
Okay, so you are emphasizing on the evangelization of AI that is still required, while adoption is sort of becoming hygiene. But how do you drive the usage and increase that usage pattern manifold is what you are looking. Great, thank you. Kunal, I'll come to you next with the same question on the impact of AI on marketeers.
Well, I'll take a slightly different outside in view on this, right? Because I believe that B2B marketers and CMOs are really standing at the tipping point, right? First, the buyer behavior is shifting, right? So I was reading a recent Bain and Company study, which found that 80% of consumers now rely on AI summaries for at least 40% of their searches. What that means is there is a trend of reducing traditional website clicks. That's happening, right? So um, clicks on our websites are going down by up to even 25%. Now, the implication there is that the buying process is now getting accelerated. It's becoming more vendor agnostic and comparison heavy. Traditional SEO focused, campaigns or mindsets, which was very focused on finding your website pages, is no longer as relevant as it would be in the future. Right? So we need to have newer approaches which are more generative engine focused, right? To get to the answers rather than just getting to the content. So that's where I think there is a shift in terms of buyer behavior, and the CMO today has to react to that. Second, I truly believe that marketers are under tremendous pressure to deliver, right? Not just campaigns, but measurable revenue. So most marketers are dealing with increasing targets, but budgets being flat, headcount being flat, right? And operational times, by the way, are increasing because the market stack has been growing. It has become much more complicated than before. So there is value in how we could deploy an agentic AI workforce that can really automate, handle some of these repetitive high volume tasks, right? Because there's a pressure on improving your execution capability. And finally, I think Varun touched upon this a little bit. The CMO today has to turn the marketing organization into a learning organization, because there are members on our team who are also, by the way, very keen to and getting to a point where they want to get their hands dirty on trying out new LLM and AI-led creative tools. So we need to be enablers to create an environment where small teams can really experiment, they can learn, they can try out things. Because at the end of the day, it's about agility, and that's not just a process; it's a culture. There needs to be some level of risk tolerance, and there needs to be a shared purpose of getting better by staying competitive and up to date about everything that's happening in the market. So yeah, that would be my take on it, Rajneesh.
Okay, thanks. So, three things I would say you focused on. One was sort of creating a knowledge base around AI. The second was the third point you mentioned, or the second point that you mentioned was more the operational challenges that how they can be mitigated and enhanced. And thirdly, obviously, you're sort of building a learning organization of the marketing phenomenon. Great. From this point, I thought about the second question, which will come to each panelist again. From this angle, see two things. Whatever this AI driven or data driven marketing we today talk about, one outcome of marketing perhaps remains the same. Uh, how you would increase the market share, and how would you increase perhaps the mind share, and how would you increase as a consequence of market share the wallet share. That will be primarily the role of a marketeer, even traditionally, and even today the means to reach them might have changed. Keeping that in mind, there is an age old one, always, I would not use the word clash, but a challenging collaboration between marketing and sales. And I would extend it from sales to all the product line teams. So, in today's scenario, as a marketeer, how is this synergy or integration between marketing, sales, and the other LBUs in terms of a smooth integration where ultimately the outcome you want is increasing the market share? So, how are you looking at it? I'll start with Shivani again.
Sure. So Rajneesh, it's something about, I think, creating loyalty loops now, right? Because we all have access to the digital tools, right? So that has sort of leveled the playing field for all of us, right? So it's not about if you have access to the right tools or not. It's about how you use them, right? And with the AI driven personalizations, the customer journey mapping, all of it sums up not to just sell more but actually creating those loyalty loops, right? So market share, when you mention market share is about the acquisition, much of what sales cares about, right? Wallet share is about upsell and cross sell, right? So that is also again that business cares about. And mind share is, I feel, about storytelling and trust. So that is where when you combine all three aspects together and weave it into your marketing story. So that's where when you align all three, you stop competing on the price points to win customers and you start competing on the experience part, right? And that's where I feel the real edge lies.
Thank you, Varun. The same question, the integration or relation with sales and other SBUs in your
Yep.
organization.
Sure. So I think we keep reading a lot about this whole tussle between sales, marketing, and customer teams on the KPIs or the goals that they need to focus on. But I think eventually, if you look at it in like a Venn diagram of sorts. So you're talking about market share, which is something that what Shivani said, that it's driven by the sales numbers, your wallet share or your customer experience driven by your customer teams, and then your market share driven by your marketing team. And at the center of it all, they all need to intersect each other, and that's where that whole true north star of your business number, or your actual top line and your bottom line numbers, need to come into play. So I think that alignment that we're talking about, we have a lot of technologies that are available to drive all three of these shares. The market share, wallet share, mind share. But I think, um, and I think a lot of the organizations are very, very adaptive towards these technologies. But I think the true differentiator lies in not just using these technologies externally to drive alignment in your messaging, but also to feed in the feedback that you're getting from these external forces, and continually learn internally as well. These an alignment between the different LBUs is not a one time thing. It'll be a continual process that will gradually evolve over time. And using external and internal signals better, and being agile about consuming that feedback, is, I think, what differentiate between successful and great organizations.
Thanks for raising that important point about being agile in terms of this collaboration. Kunal, what would you like to add in this question about the relationship of marketing with the other units in the overall organization?
I think Shivani and Varun have summed it up quite nicely. So I think at the end of the day, look, it's marketing and sales have to be joined in the hip, right? When what I've realized is sales always has this ground level insights on accounts, what's happening in them, the sort of nuances, the sort of decision makers that exist, who's influencing the deal, so on and so forth, right? Whereas marketing has a wider gamut of intelligence. We can bring in the digital signals, and I think when both of them can come together, share data, you get much more sharper targeting, better conversion rates, and of course we can go to the market in a much more relevant way, right? And that's a fantastic. I mean, ABM is a fantastic way of looking at things when sales and marketing really align on which accounts matter, how do they want to approach on it, and what the value proposition for that market for that particular account should look like. Um, and by the way, the buyer really doesn't care about how you've organized yourself internally, right? So B2B buyers engage with multiple touch points before purchase. We all know that. If marketing tells one story and sales tells another, then the credibility breaks. So there needs to be an alignment which ensures that the buyers hear a single consistent narrative, right from thought leadership down to the final proposals that they see. That consistency is what really builds trust and eventually drives market share. So I think that would be my take on it, uh, Rajneesh.
Thanks. So again, what the all the three panelists answered, and keeping in mind some of those points, especially as someone mentioned that sales has a more ground level information and feel about each of the accounts. I'll come to since I'm coming from a media background and especially the technology media. Today, it's a mutually, I would say, symbiotic relation with the tech industry players and the tech media. So my question is, and how more or less these dynamics are defined is while the industry players want to have outreach programs to different community building programs, and there they collaborate often with the media who provides a more neutral kind of platform where the marketing message can be better delivered. So now we come across these phrases are used very widely, 360-degree outreach and reaching. So my question again to each panelist will be what exactly constitutes these 360-degree, and more importantly, I would like to understand without going into specific dynamics, but individually as a company, what are your expectations from this collaboration with media, and what exactly are the things that you would like to achieve as an outcome? Shivani, I'll start again with.
Sure. So I feel, Rajneesh, that a true 360 is not about being everywhere, right? It's about being everywhere, but with consistency and relevance, right? So when I partner with media organizations, I expect them to, help us sort of integrate all my channels, say, paid media, earned media, owned media, or even the shared channels into one seamless story, right? So a strong 360 degree for me includes, say, PR for credibility, digital ads for reach, or social for building my community, right? And content for depth, and of course events for the human in-person connection, right? So it has to be the combination of all of these elements. Otherwise, it creates a void, right? And of course, target is not about just impressions. It's about the measurable impact that we are creating through our marketing voice, right? It's about measurable leads, about deeper trust, the long term brand lift, the trust that customer is enriching us with. So I feel that is what my expectation would be for from a 360 degree outreach program.
So, when you are talking about this expectations from this, what I would like to understand is now, as a when you are looking as an organization for customer acquisition, I'm presuming there will be a balance between both greenfield and brownfield acquisitions. In some cases, obviously, there will be cross selling and upselling done with the existing accounts, and the others will be more greenfield accounts. So, when and as an organization, you are balancing between these two types of acquisitions, how does this partnership with media for these outreach help?
That question is for me, Rajneesh.
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel, Rajneesh, when it comes to the greenfield accounts versus the existing incumbent accounts, right? So I feel both the areas are very, very important. So one is something that leads us towards growth, and another one is that leads us into the depth, right? And I'll tell you a quick story. So, for example, when we work with our customers, um, we when we reach out, so for example, we have an opportunity of collaboration with the customer for engagement over one, say, solution that they're looking for, right? But when we sit down with them, we understand what is their IT portfolio, for instance, right? What is the software advisory that we can extend to them, and we end up getting deep into that account where we understand there are more challenges which customer is not very vocal about at the moment, right? But definitely where we can contribute to, right? So definitely when we collaborate with a media agency, right, we definitely focus on the green field, because that's where we expect that foot in the door, and where we want to be introduced to our potential customers whom we can empower with technology, right? Because we already have, say, for instance, in most of the organization, and of course, Varun, and we can sort of speculate on that as well, but most of the times what happens is that we have a very rich network of sellers within the organization, right? So we can always do the deep dive, or what you say, account based marketing or white space analysis within the existing accounts, because there is certain connect already. But the green field is, I feel, the golden opportunity for media organizations and for organizations like us, where we can help and empower an organization with the right set of tools, technology, solutions, etc.
Thank you. Thank you. Varun, next I'll come to you with the same question. For you, what is this 360-degree outreach campaign or program? What all it constitutes, and how are you looking at balancing between these new customers and acquiring new customers, and maintaining or deepening the engagement with the existing customers? And what is the role of the media partnership that you are looking at?
Sure. I think in terms of the constituents of the 360-degree approach, I think um, we all understand that a 360-degree approach will probably make use of different marketing channels. But I think the person, or if I'm driving that 360-degree proposal, I'd probably also do a 360 myself, where I'll probably inform or align the business objectives of that partnership with my senior management to align on these are the business objectives that we're trying to drive, and also with the sales organization as well. What are their business objectives that they want to drive with the partnership. So aligning on the business objectives of different SBUs, that's the first step of it. And the second step of it, I think, is also the fact that when we start making use of multiple channels, I think it becomes very, very difficult to maintain that consistency. Something which Ivani has also touched already. You know, earned media, paid media, different media channels. They use different platforms. They use different formats, which makes it a lot much muddled. And the original content or the original story that you're going in with, it's very, very easy to run the risk of diluting what you're actually trying to say, because you need to adapt it to different platforms, different audiences, different formats. So ensuring that one consistent thread in that messaging, and you just need to kind of hone in on the fact that what's that one message that I want to drive through this partnership or through this media house, is something that needs to be nailed as well. Now, coming to your second question in terms of how do we balance between the greenfield and the brownfield opportunities, I think again it depends on what stage of the funnel are you targeting. So if you're looking at pre-conversion, that then yes, greenfield does make all the sense, and that's where media houses really help you establish yourself as thought leaders, because for a customer or for a prospect who's actually willing to bet his money on your product, he'll bet his money on a product, on a company that gives him that trust, and gives him that comfort that his investment will not go southwards. And then media houses then help you position your organization in a way that that sort of builds trust as well. And that same trust is also sort of very important when you're looking at the post conversion or the brownfield opportunities, where you're looking at expanding your wallet share. Because it's not just the fact that where that this organization or my organization is very focused on driving new business. It's also the fact that it gives me an opportunity to leverage a particular media house to tell the audience that what am I doing to keep my existing customers happy. What are my product enhancements that are going to be driving, or what is my future product roadmap looking like. So eventually, I think net, if you look at it, it's all about building trust pre conversion and post conversion. I think that's how you balance both your green and the brownfield opportunities.
So balancing the trust between pre-conversion and post-conversion. Great. Kunal, the same question. The constituents of a 360-degree program or campaign. What are all the important constituents there? And second is, how are you looking at balancing between greenfield and brownfield acquisitions from an organization perspective?
Right. So, whenever we partner with a media house, it's typically to solve a particular problem, and that problem could be very contextual to the situation that we are trying to resolve. But it's likely going to be in one of those three areas. We are either solving for reach, we are solving for relationship, or we are solving for resonance. Or in some cases, it could be all of the three, because it depends upon the context and the problem that we are really solving for. So when we talk about reach, we are trying to solve for reaching new audiences, or audiences that we are not able to reach effectively through our own channels. It could be about resonance, which is about thought leadership, coming across very authentically and influencing a set of decision makers, or even for that matter, supporting our user base, right? Potential user base in a much, much better way. So I think that some of the constituents, I think Shivani talked about this to a certain degree already, but content-led thought leadership. When we are working with media organizations to create white papers, research reports, executive interviews, um, that coupled with digital amplification like social media, programmatic, right? Targeting niche segments of the audience. We also work with media organizations on events, creating those experiential touch points, and then the media partnerships on event coverage or editorial features, etc. So I think that for me constitutes uh, the baseline for a 360-degree program. But ultimately, it's about improving our reach, shaping the perception, and then helping our customers know us better so that we can make their lives a little better, right? So that's my take on the first question. Regarding greenfield and brownfield, I think look, media organizations, especially in the greenfield side of things, they tend to give us scale and credibility, right? So especially when we are entering an uncharted territory. So what that really helps us at the end of the day is to borrow trust in the markets where our brand may not be yet established. Right? So all of that creates mental availability amongst new prospective buyers who don't know us yet as much as possibly we want them to. So that's on greenfield. And on brownfield, I think we are solving for an amplifier and a deepener. So uh, here we are dealing with a set of audiences which know us well, but instead of awareness in greenfield, we are focusing on reinforcement and differentiation here. So we are talking about targeted storytelling, case studies. We want to do a much more involved exercise, and that's where media organizations really help us surround the existing customers with more proof points and help us establish our brand even further by building those stronger relationships. So I think that's what at the end of the day, Greenfield is all about planting seeds, requiring broader education, and Brownfield is more about nurturing what we already planted. So that requires depth, precision, and improvements.
So greenfield is more about the education, and the brownfield requires more depth and precision. Great. Thank you for that. Uh, the next line is the another important aspect, and uh, the data driven marketing era, and now increasingly overall marketing is depending more and more on data. But again, the data is very humongous. It's coming from all sorts of sources, very heterogeneous. Not all of them are structured. There are structured, unstructured, all kind of data. And as we know, we all apply different kind of analytics to derive the proper predictable insights. And for marketing, predictable insights are also imperative. So how are things, and this is a very dynamic area, things are moving very fast. So what are the challenges from a marketeer perspective in deriving the very accurate predictable insights today, considering the sources of data are so huge and heterogeneous? Shivani, again I'll start with you.
Sure. So, Rajneesh, what I feel is that we are now in a transition phase where we are moving from a data rich but insight poor to actually driving that performance and analytics. So, earlier we used to have a humongous amount of data, but insights was the missing piece, right? So, now with a lot of marketing automation platforms that are coming up with integrated AI. Uh, uh, Call it, Google Analytics 4, Adobe Analytics, Power BI, Tableau. All of these wonderful platforms are there. So they are basically helping consolidate the behavioral, the transactional, the engagement data, and it's putting all of that together in one single view. So that is very, I feel that that is very, very important to have these kind of right tools and platforms for your organization, right? Plus the real time segmentation and the real time personalization is something that's very, very important, right? So I'll give you a quick short story. So something like earlier when we were in my previous instance when I was running a digital campaign, uh, we had gone live with a digital search engine marketing based campaign, and the landing page where we when somebody fills up a form and it comes a thank you for reaching us out, and one of our executives will be soon in touch with you, that kind of landing page, the thank you page. So we integrated an AI tool over there, so which was linked with the first name, which was the customer, the prospective customer was filling in the previous screen, right? And it had a video message of my own where it said, something like, "Hey, hi Rajneesh, thank you so much for reaching us out. And this is something we do about, we help about scaling technology for SMB businesses, and one of our team members will be soon in touch." So each time a person actually filled up a form, was greeted with this thank you message, and because it was AI empowered, each time the name which I would say in the video would be different, right? So this I feel when we were not doing something like this, so it was, I think, a wow moment. A lot of customers appreciated and they remembered, so when our sellers used to get in touch with those customers, they used to say that, wow, that was something very unique we've not seen before. And they used to remember, and the engagement used to strike on a very high note, on an excited note. And it used to be easy for sellers to sort of crack into that account and get hold of it. So but again, I mean, that all of that came in when we sort of crunched the data, right? When we understood that people are coming to the page, they are scrolling through, they're browsing through. Some of them, the CTR, say for example, was 10%. How do we increase the CTR? And soon, there was word of mouth that you fill in the form, and there would be an interesting AI based messaging for you. So I think we got we got a spike in our the leads opportunities from that campaign. But again, there was a lot of irrelevant opportunities also coming in, right? Which sort of messes with your entire conversion uh, scheme, right, of the campaign. But again, I mean, it's always that you rely on the data, you rely on your analytics to take these kind of decisions to increase the engagement, to improve the experience bit of your campaigns, right? So that's what I felt, that earlier we used to report the past, the analytics was mostly about reporting what has happened, right? But now we are predicting the next move with these kind of really good AI based analytics platforms, and that is what is, I feel, making marketing very, very smart.
So analytics has moved from reporting the past to predicting the future. Great. That's a quotable headline sort of thing. Great. Uh, Varun, I'll come to you next with the importance of data and how the nature of, well, was always important, but how you analyze the data and generate insights. How has this changed now, and how is it changing?
Sure. So I think earlier, I think earlier, I would say probably about 4 or 5 years back, I think we all of us must have gone through this. We had at least 20 to 30 dashboards or Excel files informing us in terms of what our campaign is doing, how our campaign is performing, um, and and the only struggle that I found in my days was that each dashboard gave me different numbers and I was confused. What AI has actually done today is it's condensed all of these dashboards into what you could say is an insight tool that just doesn't give me, okay, my campaign or my email campaign didn't perform as much as my previous one did, but it also tells me like why did it not perform, or what could be the variations that I could have used, or my list size wasn't adequate or something of that sort. Insights that were earlier, that I could 4 years back I could only get to once my campaign was live. Now I'm getting real time tracking of it. Um, Contrary to it, I would also probably say that there's never going to be that one perfect dashboard that will educate all marketers that how their campaign has performed. You will have to rely on the marketer gut. Call me a traditionalist, but I always would want to put the human element first. A marketer's gut and experience can trump the AI insights by a mile, and I've seen that happen a lot. Yeah. Yeah, again, I'll go back to how I started off. The panel with my response. It needs to be measured between the artificial and the human needs to work in tandem to draw powerful insights from the data. You could have 40 dashboards, but they will not give you anything if you don't understand what's being given to you. um, Now, coming to some of the most recent anecdotes that I can share, and I think I'll borrow something with what Kunal mentioned. The drop in the search volumes, we're seeing it, and it's actually happening that our organic clicks are falling because of the AI snippets that are being populated on the search results. So now what we are doing is, um, going not just traditionally optimizing our pages, but we're also building our pages that get citations in that AI summary, because that eventually builds authority. Those are small things that you can do, and but again, it was data that told us our clicks are going down. But how do we build citation is something probably that we're referring to a lot of blogs and a lot of articles that are written by humans, that how can you bypass and still hold authority within the AI snippet rise. So I'll still probably say that yes, data is going to be there. It was there and it will be there, but it's the human that drives the intelligence behind it.
Great. So whatever dashboard intelligence is there, unless there is that right gut feel to interpret that intelligence, things would not move really smoothly. Great. Kunal, your take on the importance of data and how it is constantly impacting the dynamics of marketing.
I think I'll answer this in maybe wearing two different hats. One is, as a vendor and as someone who's been a data and AI partner to many organizations across the world, right? And to marketers themselves. We also work with marketing as a community. So look, marketers today are inundated with data. There's no surprise. That social media data, CRM systems, website analytics. And often what we have seen is that all of this leads to marketers' aspirations to do more with it. But at the same time, with fragmented data silos, it becomes challenging to get a unified view of the data of the customer and the behavior of the customer, right? So that fragmentation hinders the ability to perform better analysis and then drive meaningful insights and actions out of it. So uh, that's number one. Uh, Often, I think what we fail to recognize is that there is a change in behavior, and there's also a change in generations that's driving that behavior. Right? So customers' preferences, behaviors are constantly changing, and that means that older data cannot be necessarily relied upon all the time. Right? We need to continuously get new data in, continuously adapt to the strategies based on what we're getting in terms of real time to meet these evolving expectations, right? And that can be resource intensive. So, for example, younger buyers are leaning much more on social media and value networks along with what their peers are saying when they are looking to make or influence a purchase decision, right? So that generational shift means that B2B content today must be much more socially alive, much more socially relevant. So, how can we start thinking differently from our traditional ways of reaching the media, reaching the audiences by changing our media, short form media, peer content, social proofs. So, some of this is what is getting, is changing in terms of how we are looking at approaching the market. So, look, I think the problem of get having much more data is not going to go away. We are going to continuously get a lot more data than what we had in the past. So that's not going to go away. But I think today's CMO really needs to start looking at what really matters, deciding which signals matter. We need to decide on managing data pipelines and ensuring that we filter out the noise, right? And whatever insights we get can be acted upon in a quicker manner so that we are able to hit the market quickly, and then all of that translates into sales decisions. So I think uh, it's a complicated scenario, but that's where the CMOs and the marketing heads capacity is going to be really stretched as we go along into the future.
Great. The role and the capacity of the CMO is going to be stretched. In that light, when we come to the last round, I'll alter the sequence and start from you, Kunal. Just as a continuation, and you said the capability and the scope of the CMO's capability scope is getting stretched. One important question. There has been an issue, again, this is a traditional issue with marketing in terms of from the top management, the necessary budgets as and when required for marketing. But more importantly, what has happened is while marketing traditionally has been looked as a cost center for the organization, now increasingly the roles have changed, and marketing is also looked at as a profit center. So, what is your take on that shift, and how has that impacted the role of the marketeer?
I wish that was broadly true, right? I'm happy to hear that there is a shift, but I wish it was more broadly true. Let me put it that way, right? Because I think it goes back to the maturity of the organization to recognize how marketing can be used as a strategic lever and as a growth driver and a growth engine for the organization. And I've often seen that having interacted with so many organizations that I think that while there is a recognition, there needs to be a certain maturity that needs to creep in into organizations to start clearly leveraging marketing to its full potential. So, uh, but having said that, I think what has definitely happened is that over the past few years, the metrics and the KPIs that marketing has been tasked with have become increasingly closer to revenue, increasingly closer to measurable results. And as a result of that, today marketers are talking to finance, they're talking to sales, they're talking to pre-sales organizations in a very number-driven way. Right? So there is little to talk about on effort and on strategy, but a lot more to talk about in terms of outcomes of what has been, what has been the effort of the team, or what has been the uh, the go-to-market strategy that we have landed in the market. So I think today the language that the marketer is speaking has definitely changed, and that is one of the things that I believe has helped the the growth of marketing's credibility within the organizations. So that's number one. And I think secondly, I would say that while that has happened, I also do believe that there are other areas which have suffered for it. So, brand being a good example, where marketing was always looked at as the custodian of the brand, guardian of the brand, and to some extent, the conversation shift and the language shift towards very strong metrics and outcome-driven uh, results have hampered the investment that goes into building a brand. And there's a lot of value in building fame, right? Fame really, in my opinion, building the brand and investing in making the brand famous has ripple effects across multiple decades, not just in terms of years. So marketing is that one function that ideally has the luxury and the responsibility of a longer term. We're not we don't necessarily think about quarter to quarter, though we are often forced to, right? But we the marketing function is ideally thinking about what does the next 5 years look like, what does the next decade look like. So I think that aspect is where I'm always a little more cautious that we should not be sacrificing brand building on the altar of outcome based or much more easily shown digital metrics, or so to speak. Right? So that is the only caveat I would say, Rajneesh, at least from my end.
Thanks. That's a very interesting point, in fact, that while the operational matrices and the KPIs that you mentioned and all those measurable parameters are more in vogue, but is it compromising the intangible aspects of brand building overall? Yes, that is something that perhaps needs more exploration. Varun, your take on the shift of marketing as a role, more from a cost centric proposition to a profit centric value
Sure.
proposition now.
So, so Rajneesh, I'll probably structure my conversation around, you know, earlier marketing was about brand campaigns, storytelling. Now marketing is involved with sales for market share driving, customer service for ensuring you have optimal customer experience post purchase. Marketing is intertwined with product as well. To they're informing product in terms of what's the market telling us as well. So the role of marketing, yes, it has kind of widened. Now I wouldn't want to say that it has shifted from being a cost center to a profit center, because like Kunal mentioned, it, it's there in pockets, but it's not really prevalent. And it really depends on how the organization in itself sees marketing. um, and that also sort of defines what their expectations are from marketing. Short-sighted organizations might just see marketing as a function that can help them deliver quarter-to-quarter results. But I think when it comes to brand building, it needs to be absolutely crystal clear that brand is not a one-quarter job. It will be a continual exercise that will happen over a period of time. It needs to live its own life. It needs to live its own in its own world. And marketing needs to sort of be the custodian of it. Um, but I think the also thing that one thing that has also happened over the past few years is um, the amount of feedback that marketing used to get earlier, where everybody thought that marketing, we could do marketing, like that. I think that's changed. We Marketing as an organization has started to be respected a lot more. especially when I see in review calls that I am a part of, the QBRs or the sales reviews, the sort of weight that marketing has on the table, the sort of value that marketing brings on the table has definitely shifted. And I still wouldn't say that it's a profit center, but I would still say that it's somewhere between. You could say it's not a cost center, but now it's seen as an impact center.
That's important. So two things are important, that the shift from a cost center, even if it has not moved completely to a profit center, but it's an impact center definitely. And more importantly, as you mentioned, marketing still should remain the custodian of a continuous brand building process rather than just looking at the quarterly figures as outcomes. Okay, Shivani, I'll come to you now. How do you perceive this shift more from a cost centric model for marketing as a function?
So, Rajneesh, do you know what? This is my favorite question. So, typically, when I started marketing, so this is typically like what 15 years or so ago, it was marketing was seen in a very traditional sense, right? Email marketing or website building or brand messaging, positioning. So these were very limited avenues where marketers were seen to sort of get a hold on, and hence it was seen like a, like a cost center, the cost unit of the organization. But over the years, I think a lot of things have changed. And what I also feel is that it depends from leaders to leaders, because what I have seen is when if you are, say, putting an X amount investment, you're suppose you're planning your marketing for the year, right? And you go to the business and you say that this is the investment I'm looking for. Then, but obvious, the question that comes from the business is that what is the ROI we are expecting on top of it, right? And if as a marketing leader we are ready to own the certain X of, maybe say 15x, 10x, 20x, whatever, of that ROI, then I think all the different units, all the stakeholders on the table, everything falls into the right place, and there everybody is aligned, right? So I think that's the bold aspect that's most enjoyable about marketing, when the seller community within the organization, the business community within the organization look up to you, that because you have owned and you have committed the percentage share of the revenue target of the year, then what is your take, and how are you contributing in the entire story for the year? So I love that aspect for sure. And that, I think that for me personally has helped me a lot, because now when I am in the business role, I am very keenly and closely looking into sales and marketing together, both, right? And that has given me that perspective that when as a marketer you are constantly focused on driving your digital campaigns or the social media campaigns, or your branding related campaigns. But as a business, because you're putting that money in, obviously you would expect an ROI. Are you ready to own it up? If yes, then the game is for you.
Uh, that's really great to know and interesting that this ROI thing, the business role of a marketeer, has become clearer from the example that you cite. Before we conclude, I will come to Mohantesh. Your views on, you heard some of the discussion, and you would like to share some of your conclusions.
I think all the panelists shared some interesting insights, right? Whether it is building the brand, because that is something which nobody talks about these days. And today, in the world of data, the amount of reports that one gets, and I think from a media perspective, right, we are also held that much more accountable, right from planning a particular program to ending the campaign. And then what are some of the follow-up things that a media organization can do for marketeers? I think that's where a lot of dynamics are changing when it comes to 360 degree marketing approach, right? Each one of them shared their perspective, and I think from a media organization we see that very often. Earlier we would just do one or two tactics, I would say, but today we are taking a lot more programmatic approach. Not only do we talk insights, yeah, executing the campaigns, and then post campaign the nurture, follow up, and also in certain cases we are also looking at the win ratio. So that is quite interesting. Yeah, thank you very much for being part of today's discussion. It was quite insightful.
Thanks, Mantesh, and I would like to thank all the panelists, Shivani, Varun, Kunal, as well as Mantesh, for this very insightful conversation. We will create a report out of that, which we will share with all of you. Plus, this entire video will go online and promoted on LinkedIn, so that it's shared to the wider marketing community and the wider audience. And we will soon catch up in a similar forum in the future. Have a great day. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
Thank
you.
you.
Rajesh. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.